I am Chelsea, 33, and literally last weekend, my rep as the family glue? Yeah, it totally backfired. The piece I'd worked my butt off to keep solid, it blew up into a full-on family meltdown at our so-called happy reunion. Tessa, my sister, straight up demanded I let her $12,000 credit card charge slide, and when I clapped back, the room went dead silent. "You're tearing us apart," Mom yelled, with everyone staring like I'd set the table on fire. But here's the tea. Their shade didn't break me, it lit a spark. I'm not just pushing back, I'm about to flip the script and change everything. A quick note, this story is copyrighted by the YouTube channel Brim Revenge. Reposting, revoicing, or editing this content without permission constitutes copyright infringement. Thank you for respecting original creative work. Now, back to the story. The air in Mom's dining room felt thick, like I was breathing through a straw. Tessa sat across from me, her manicured nails tapping the table, smirking like she'd already won. I'd just found the charge. $12,000 racked up on my card during our family vacation to Aruba. My stomach twisted as I gripped my phone, the bank's email still open. I'd covered for Tessa before, loans, car repairs, even a lease deposit, but this was theft. My voice shook as I said, "Tessa, you used my card without asking." Her eyes flicked up, lazy, right, like I'd accused her of borrowing a pen. "Oh, Chels, it's not a big deal," she said, tossing her hair. "You always handle this stuff." Mom jumped in, her fork clinking against her plate. "Chelsea, don't make a scene, we're family." Dad nodded, not looking up from his steak. My brother Jake just scrolled his phone, muttering, "Here we go again." I felt my cheeks burn, my fists clenching under the table. They were rewriting the story, making me the problem. I'd spent years playing the good daughter, the one who fixed things, who paid for Tessa's messes. But that spark I felt, it was rage, not shame. I pushed my chair back, the scrape loud in the silence. "This isn't okay," I said, voice steady now. "You don't get to dismiss this." Tessa's smirk faltered just for a second. I saw it, her first hint of doubt. That's when I knew, I wasn't just fighting for my money, I was fighting for me. The sting of that dinner table moment lingered, but it wasn't new. Growing up, I was the invisible one, my efforts buried under Tessa's spotlight. Like that time in high school when I won the state science fair. First place, a full scholarship. I came home, trophy in hand, buzzing with pride. Mom glanced at it, said, "That's nice, Chelsea." Then turned to Tessa's prom queen sash, gushing, "You're our star!" Tessa beamed, twirling in her dress, while Dad clapped her shoulder. My trophy sat on the counter, ignored, until I tucked it away in my room. I was 16, and it hurt, but I swallowed it. I always did. Then there was college. I worked 2 jobs to cover Tessa's car loan after she crashed her sedan, her little oopsie, she called it. I'd stay up late balancing spreadsheets while she posted party pics online. When I graduated with honors, no one came to my ceremony. They were at Tessa's art gallery opening, praising her mediocre paintings. "She's so creative," Dad said over the phone. I nodded, gripping the receiver, my cap and gown still on, alone in my dorm. I sent Tessa $2,000 for her lease deposit that year, no questions asked. She never paid me back. "You're so good with money, Chels," Mom would say, like it was my job to fix Tessa's chaos. Even last year, when I landed a promotion at my marketing firm, I got a half-hearted, "congrats" text from Jake. Meanwhile, Tessa's new boutique got a family group chat explosion. Emojis, exclamation points, plans for a grand opening party. I stared at my phone, my thumb hovering over a reply I never sent. Each memory felt like a brick in a wall I'd built to hold back my resentment. But that $12,000 charge? It cracked that wall wide open. Sitting in Mom's dining room, their voices dismissing me again, I felt those old wounds bleed fresh. My jaw tightened, my nails digging into my palms. I wasn't just the bank they raided. I was done being their doormat. The moment I saw that $12,000 charge, something in me snapped awake. It was 2 days before the reunion, and I was in my apartment hunched over my laptop, the bank's email glaring at me. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the transactions, hotels, spa treatments, boutiques, all from Aruba, all on my card. Tessa hadn't even bothered to hide it. I leaned back, my chair creaking, my breath shallow. I'd covered her messes for a decade, but this wasn't a loan or a favor. This was betrayal, bold and careless. My heart pounded, not just with anger but with a clarity I'd never felt before. I was done. I paced my living room, my bare feet cold on the hardwood. Memories of Tessa's excuses flooded me, her teary promises to pay me back soon, her laughter when I asked for updates. I stopped by the window, staring at the city lights, my reflection pale and tired. I'd been carrying her weight and my family's approval of it for too long. My fingers curled into fists, nails biting my skin. I wasn't just going to call her out, I was going to make her face consequences. For the first time I felt a fire in my chest. Not the flicker of rage from the dinner, but a steady burn of resolve. I grabbed my phone and searched for a lawyer. My thumb hesitated, then tapped a local firm's number. When the receptionist answered, I said, "I need help with a financial dispute." My voice didn't waver. By the next morning, I'd met with Sarah, a sharp attorney who listened as I laid out Tessa's history, every unpaid loan, every broken promise. She nodded, jotting notes, her pen scratching softly. "We'll draft a demand letter," she said, her tone calm but firm. "This is actionable." I exhaled, my shoulders loosening. That letter wasn't just paper, it was my line in the sand. I left her office, my steps lighter, the weight of years starting to lift. I wasn't invisible anymore. I was ready to fight. The night before the family gathering, I sat on my couch, my phone buzzing with texts from Mom about the menu, as if nothing had happened. My laptop was open, Sarah's email confirming the demand letter's draft, glowing on the screen. My stomach churned, not just from nerves but from the weight of what I was about to do. I'd spent years dreading these annual dinners, plastering on a smile while Tessa shone and I faded into the background. Tomorrow I'd walk into Mom's house, face their dismissals, and serve Tessa the letter. My fingers traced the edge of my coffee mug, the ceramic cool against my skin. I wasn't ready, but I was done waiting. I stood and paced, my slippers scuffing the rug. The reunion was at Mom's place, a sprawling suburban house filled with photos of Tessa's achievements, but none of mine. I could already picture it. Dad carving the roast, Jake glued to his phone, Mom fussing over Tessa's new haircut, and me sitting there absorbing their jabs about my overreaction to the $12,000. My jaw tightened, remembering Tessa's smirk at the last dinner, her casual, "You always handle this stuff." I stopped pacing, catching my reflection in the dark window. My eyes looked tired but sharp, like someone waking up after a long sleep. I sank back onto the couch, pulling a throw blanket over my knees. My phone lit up again. Another text from Mom. "Don't bring up the card thing, Chels. Let's keep it nice." I snorted, tossing the phone aside. Nice? Nice was me paying for Tessa's life while they clapped for her. I leaned my head back, closing my eyes, my breath steadying. Tomorrow wasn't just a dinner. It was my stand. I'd walk in, hold my ground, and show them I wasn't their scapegoat anymore. The letter in my bag felt like armor. For once, I wasn't dreading the fight, I was ready to start it. I stepped into Mom's house, the familiar smell of roasted garlic and Tessa's perfume hitting me like a wave. The dining room buzzed with chatter, but the moment I set my purse down, silence crept in. Mom glanced up from arranging napkins, her smile tight. "Chelsea, you're late," she said, though I was 5 minutes early. Tessa, perched at the table, flicked her eyes toward me, her lips curling into a half smirk. Jake didn't look up from his phone. Dad just nodded, slicing bread with deliberate focus. I slid into my seat, my hands clenching the chair's arms, the wood smooth under my fingers. The air felt like it was waiting for me to crack. "So Chelsea," Tessa started, her voice syrupy, "still stressing over that little card mix-up?" She tilted her head, her earrings catching the light. Mom shot me a look. "Don't start." I felt my pulse in my throat, but I forced a calm smile. "It's not a mix-up, Tessa. It's $12,000. Her laugh was sharp, like glass. "You're so dramatic, I'll handle it. Relax." Jake snorted, still scrolling. Dad cleared his throat, muttering, "Can we just eat?" Mom chimed in, "Chelsea, you always make things bigger than they are." Each word landed like a jab, their voices weaving a familiar net to trap me in. I gripped my fork, the metal cool against my palm, my knuckles whitening. They were doing it again, minimizing, deflecting, making me the problem. Tessa leaned back, sipping her wine, her eyes daring me to push. I could have let it slide, like always, but the weight of Sarah's letter in my purse anchored me. I set my fork down, the clink loud in the pause. "I'm not overreacting," I said, my voice low but steady. "You stole from me, Tessa." The room stilled, her smirk freezing. For once, they were listening and I wasn't backing down. The silence after my words hung heavy, like the air before a storm. Tessa's smirk vanished, her wineglass frozen halfway to her lips. "Stole?" she said, her voice pitching up, sharp and defensive. "That's a bit harsh, Chels." She leaned forward, her bracelets jangling against the table, her eyes wide with mock innocence. Mom gasped, her hand fluttering to her chest. "Chelsea, that's enough," she snapped, her tone slicing through the tension. Dad's knife paused mid-cut, his jaw tight, while Jake finally looked up, eyebrows raised like he'd just tuned into a reality show. I felt their stares, a wall of judgment, but my heart pounded with a strange calm. "You charged $12,000 on my card, Tessa," I said, my voice steady, each word deliberate. "You didn't ask. That's stealing." Her face flushed and she tossed her napkin down, the fabric crumpling. "It was a family trip. I thought we were sharing costs." Her lie was flimsy, and she knew it. Her eyes darted to Mom for backup. "Chelsea, you're blowing this out of proportion," Mom said, her voice softer now, coaxing. "We're family, not criminals." Dad nodded, muttering, "Let's not ruin dinner." Jake just shrugged, back to his phone. They were closing ranks, rewriting the story to make me the villain again. I leaned back, my chair creaking, my fingers brushing the edge of my purse where Sarah's letter waited. Their denial was suffocating, but it fueled me. "I'm not dropping this," I said, locking eyes with Tessa. Her mouth opened, then closed, her confidence cracking. The room felt smaller, their voices louder, but I wasn't shrinking. For the first time, I saw their unity for what it was: cowardice, not strength. Tessa's betrayal wasn't just about money. It was the final straw in a decade of erasure. I wasn't just fighting for $12,000, I was fighting for my place. My phone buzzed in my purse, a low hum cutting through the dining room's tension. I slid it out, my hand steady despite Tessa's glare across the table. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. I excused myself, ignoring Mom's sharp, "Chelsea, really?" and stepped into the hallway, the chatter fading behind me. I answered, my voice low, the cool wall against my back, grounding me. "Chelsea, it's Sarah," my lawyer said, her tone crisp. "The demand letter is finalized. I can email it now. You just need to give the go-ahead to serve Tessa." My breath caught, a rush of power surging through me. I glanced at the dining room door, picturing Tessa's smug face. "Send it," I said, my voice firm, no hesitation. Sarah's email pinged seconds later. I opened it, scanning the letter's sharp words: unauthorized charges, immediate repayment, legal action. Each phrase felt like a brick in a new foundation. I clutched my phone, my thumb brushing the screen, my heart racing. Not with fear, but with certainty. This wasn't just about the $12,000, it was about every time I'd been dismissed, every dollar I'd lent, every apology I'd swallowed. I leaned against the wall, the faint scent of Mom's lavender candles drifting in. For years, I'd been the fixer, the quiet one who paid for their peace. Now, I was choosing me. I slipped back to the table, my purse heavier with purpose. Tessa was laughing, tossing her hair, but her eyes flicked to me, wary. Mom was mid-sentence about dessert, oblivious. I sat, my hands resting calmly on my lap, the letter's weight anchoring me. They could deflect all they wanted, but I'd just lit a fuse. Tomorrow, Tessa would get that letter, and for the first time, she'd face consequences. I met her gaze, my lips curving slightly. She shifted, uneasy, and I knew she felt the shift too. I sat back at the table, the chatter resuming like nothing had happened, but the air felt charged, electric. Tessa was still talking, her voice loud, recounting some boutique sale, but her glances at me were sharp, searching. I reached into my purse, my fingers brushing the printed demand letter I'd slipped in before leaving home. My heart thumped, steady, as I pulled it out, the paper crisp against my skin. "Tessa," I said, my voice cutting through her story like a knife. The room stilled, forks pausing, eyes locking on me. I slid the letter across the table, the paper whispering against the tablecloth. "This is for you." Her brows furrowed as she unfolded it, her lips parting as she read. "What is this?" she snapped, her voice rising, but it cracked at the edges. "A demand letter," I said, calm, my hands folded in my lap. "For the $12,000 you charged on my card. You have 30 days to pay, or I'm taking you to court." Mom gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Chelsea, how could you?" Dad's face reddened, his napkin crumpling in his fist. "This is absurd," he growled. Jake just stared, phone forgotten. Tessa's eyes widened, then narrowed. "You're serious? You'd sue your own sister?" Her tone dripped with disbelief, but I saw her hands tremble. "You've taken from me for years," I said, my voice steady, each word deliberate. "The loans, the car, the lease, I'm done." Mom tried to interrupt. "Chelsea, we can work this out." But I held up a hand, silencing her. Their gaslighting, their excuses, their dismissal, it all crashed against the wall I'd built. I stood, my chair scraping softly, and looked at Tessa. "You made your choices, now face them." I walked out, their stunned silence trailing me. The front door clicked shut, and the night air hit my face, cool and freeing. I'd broken the cycle, and it felt like breathing for the first time. The next evening, I sat cross-legged on my best friend Maya's couch, the warmth of her living room wrapping around me like a hug. Her place was a haven, soft lights, a faint scent of vanilla candles, laughter spilling from her kitchen where her partner Leo was teasing their friend Sam about overcooked pasta. Maya handed me a mug of chamomile tea, her eyes soft but searching. "You okay after last night?" she asked, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I nodded, my fingers tracing the mug's handle, the ceramic warm against my palms. "Better than I thought," I said, my voice quiet but sure. For once I wasn't carrying my family's weight. We talked about the dinner, the letter, the way Tessa's face had crumpled when I walked out. Maya leaned forward, her elbows on her knees, listening without interrupting, her presence steady. "You did what I never could," she said, her voice low, "stood up to their nonsense." Leo poked his head in, grinning. "Badass move, Chels." Sam nodded from the kitchen, raising a wooden spoon like a salute. I laughed, the sound surprising me, light and real. This was what family could be. People who saw me, not my wallet or my willingness to fix things. I sank deeper into the couch, my shoulders loosening. Maya's living room, with its mismatched pillows and warm voices, was the opposite of Mom's sterile dining room, where every word was a judgment. My phone stayed silent, no texts, no apologies from Tessa or Mom, and for the first time, that silence didn't hurt. It felt like space, like room to breathe. I sipped my tea, the steam curling up, and realized these were my people, chosen, not forced. They didn't need me to prove my worth. They already saw it. That night, I felt something new, a quiet strength, rooted not in anger but in belonging. Back in my apartment, the quiet felt different, less like loneliness, more like control. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. "Chelsea, this lawsuit is tearing us apart. Call me." I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering but didn't reply. Then came Tessa's message. "You're being ridiculous, let's talk." My jaw tightened, and I set the phone face down on the counter, the glass cool against my fingers. Their words were hooks, trying to pull me back into the old cycle, guilt, apologies, me fixing their mess. But I wasn't that Chelsea anymore. I grabbed a notebook, the pen's weight steady in my hand, and started writing. My rules, my boundaries, my peace. First, no more loans. Not a dime, not an excuse. I underlined it twice, the ink bold and final. Second, no contact unless they acknowledge the $12,000. I wasn't invisible, and I wouldn't let them pretend this didn't happen. Third, I'd protect my space. My home, my time, my energy. I paused, tapping the pen against my lip, picturing Mom's disappointed frown, Tessa's fake tears. They'd push back, hard. Dad might call, his voice gruff, demanding I be reasonable. Jake might stay silent as always. But I wasn't budging. I closed the notebook, my breath steady, and slid it into a drawer, the soft thud final. Later, I called Maya, my voice calm as I told her about the texts. "They're panicking," she said, her tone sharp with satisfaction. "Good. Let them." I smiled, leaning against my kitchen counter, the tiles cool under my elbows. Their desperation wasn't my burden anymore. I'd built a fortress, not of walls but of choices, clear, unshakable ones. For the first time, I felt like the architect of my own life, not a prop in theirs. The silence in my apartment wasn't empty. It was mine, and I was keeping it that way. A few weeks later, I stood in front of a small community center, my hands smoothing the front of my blazer, the fabric crisp against my skin. I'd volunteered to speak at a local women's workshop, sharing my story to help others set boundaries. The room was modest, with folding chairs and a flickering projector, but the energy was electric. Dozens of faces, some nervous, some hopeful, all watching me. I gripped the podium, my fingers brushing the worn wood, and started talking. I didn't just recount Tessa's $12,000 theft or my family's gaslighting. I shared the weight of those years, every unpaid loan, every dismissed achievement, and how serving that demand letter became my turning point. As I spoke, I saw nods, a few teary eyes, one woman clutching her notebook like it was a lifeline. I stopped letting their narrative define me, I said, my voice clear, echoing slightly in the quiet room. I reclaim my worth, not for them, but for me. A woman in the front row raised her hand, her voice shaky. How do you stay strong when they guilt-trip you? I paused, my throat tight, remembering Mom's texts, Tessa's pleas. You remind yourself their guilt isn't your truth, I answered, my eyes meeting hers. You choose you. The room hummed with murmurs, a shared strength rising. Afterward, a few women lingered, sharing their own stories, toxic families, financial betrayal. I listened, nodding, my hands clasped in front of me, feeling the weight of their trust. I wasn't just Chelsea, the family doormat. I was someone who'd taken her pain and built something meaningful. My family's name, once a chain, was now mine to redefine. Driving home, the city lights blurring past, I felt a quiet pride, not in revenge but in purpose. I was creating a legacy, one talk, one connection at a time. I sat on my balcony, the evening air cool against my skin, a glass of water sweating in my hand. The city hummed below, distant car horns blending with the soft rustle of leaves. My phone lay silent on the table, no texts from Mom, Tessa, or anyone since I'd set my boundaries. The quiet wasn't heavy anymore, it felt like a gift. I leaned back, my chair creaking, and closed my eyes. For years, I'd measured my worth by their approval, chasing a version of family that never existed. Now, I saw it clearly. My value wasn't in fixing their messes or absorbing their blame. It was in me, always had been. I thought about the workshop, those women's faces, their stories mirroring mine. Helping them felt like healing a part of myself too. My fingers traced the rim of my glass, the condensation slick under my touch. Tessa hadn't paid the $12,000 yet. Sarah said we might go to court. But that fight, once a fire in my chest, was just a task now, not my whole world. I'd already won something bigger, peace, real and unshakable. I opened my eyes, watching the skyline glow, and smiled. I wasn't invisible anymore. I was enough. So, what do you think? Did I stand up enough, or should I have pushed harder? Have you ever had to break free from someone who took too much? Drop your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. And if this hit home, don't forget to subscribe for more. Setting boundaries isn't just about saying no. It's about saying yes to yourself. Keep choosing you.